suppose. Why? I haven't changed my partitions on this, so I'm not too worried about it. Who needs one key recovery? I just back up everything to a NAS. Yeah, I have an NAS at the house. It's pretty fucking cool. Yeah. Oh, shit. Sophos. Should look at a setting with Sophos or Turboland. Okay, so Johnny is like the fucking loggy McPhee that Kinjo made, and it would be funny if I just knew you're not an IRC. Because I don't even know how to use the damn thing. Yay! Alright, so... Fuck my life. Well, that's fucking gay. I don't know. Let me see. I'll try something. Actually, no. But that's dumb. OE, I really don't know. I do it the same each time. I just go to here and change it. Alright. Sounds good. Women are so fucking... I just want to say that. Well, I suppose since we're about 10 minutes fucking late, I'll probably get started. I think everyone would agree. So, fucking... Oh, awesome. Now I have to stop swearing as much. Less editing. Alright, so... Today's annoying talk is... Tools are a bunch of tools. And I really don't mean that in a good way. Tools are fucking great for shit. Mainly just focus on penetration tools, proxy tools. You know, tools that regularly get used. Wow, big word. Get used in testing. Like Burp Suite. So the big dilemma is all these fucking new people, and don't mind the language, all these fucking new people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I can use OpenBoss and I can use Nessus. Great tool, don't get me wrong, I can use Wireshark. You know, they say I can use all this, I made this tool to do this fucking thing and all this other crap. That's cool. They're cool. I love tools. I'm lazy. I like to use tools. But tools suck. All tools, they suck. Even Acunetics, where the freak their name is called, where whatever that scanner is called, you know, the enterprise grade one that's $4,000+ for a one user license for a year. Scanners miss things. Scanners give a lot of false positives. Burp Suite just happens to be one that gives a load of false positives. Go ahead, internal IP. Cool. So I got a wild hair up the rear to begin testing a project management system that's kind of being used a lot with small businesses, mostly because it's free. It's open source. Fucking freaking women. All right. Anyways, so it's open source. Whatever, you can find it on Turnkey. So my employer uses this, although we have a more secure version now. It's called Collaborative. This is just the Turnkey version of it. It's already like prepackaged stuff like that. So I just set it up in a VM. No big deal. Whatever. Set it up in a VM. Whatever. It's in like, I don't even know what language. I don't really care. I know my way around it. So your admin account gets automatically created when you set it up, set this crazy password, blah, blah, blah. Pretty much it just manages projects and timesheets. So you can add a project. Oh, look. Yeah, that's something I added through a cross-site script vulnerability that I found. I wasn't even logged in when I did it, but it saved the database. So I'm lazy like anybody else. I like tools like anybody else. So I just went to, like one of my go-to tools, Suite. No harm, no foul, right? So since this is set up on my own system, and typically in engagements, you don't want to actively scan an entire web application because chances are all the requests that it's sending, and literally it depends on the size of the web application, but with this one, with Collaborative, and this isn't a huge web app, Burp Suite will send over 1 million requests to it. So in those requests, it'll check for vulnerabilities while it's actively scanning everything. And I mean literally everything. So it'll send like shell shock. It'll try to do denial of service stuff, depending on how you have it set up. So it eats up a lot of the server stuff. Actually, so much that when I first ran Burp Suite on this with ActiveScan, with my configurations and my settings, I actually shut this server down. It just took it offline. It was sending so many requests that I had to give this bad boy like, I think it's at 8 gigs of memory right now. And there's nothing going on. There's one little dinky project created, not counting the one that I put in there, vulnerability. So there's not too much going on here. This isn't communicating out anywhere. I mean, it's only on my internal. So there's nothing crazy going on. And I found this to be true in my employers also, and made some memory shifts, added memory, whatever, tweaked it, secured it, all this jazz. So hooked up Burp after I added more memory. Burp Suite is I don't know if any of you have used it. It's actually really, really, really simple to use. Pretty much proxy, intercept is on, which it's going to intercept requests that the web application makes. And you can set the proxy listener to 127.0.0.1 on the 880 port. So you set it there, and then you go to your little web browser, go to settings, pretty much just tweak the proxy settings. So you set this up, add the address, add the port, blah, blah, blah. Hit OK, and you're good to go. So, damn it. So, when you get into this thing, and I'll hit refresh, Burp Suite will pick it up, intercept the request. Oh, go figure. So it asks me to forward the get/index request for the login mode. So that gets forwarded. It forwards a bunch of other information. It's actually good if you go through this information. Sometimes you can just exploit right out of the box like that. Can I translate? fail. Google language sucks. But anyways, continuing on further. Yeah, burp sleep. Cool. So I went ahead and just like logged in with admin credentials, and you can right click and spider. You can spider the host and pull all the links out. So I have it set not to make as many requests as I normally would. But you can see like 10 millions of bytes been transferred when it spidered the host. And this just gathers up like all the information, all the links, pretty much all the links. I haven't found an instance where we catch links yet. But anything is possible with burp sleep, as we'll find out. So once everything is set up there. So spider the host, get your links, blah, 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 blah. So then you can start scanning this bad boy. So we've done spidering. You get all these things, and the stuff that is in the lighter black is just out of scope in the testing. Go figure. Makes sense, right? So same thing, you can right click and you get two options: actively scan this host and passively scan this host. Well, since this is on my engagement, this is my own personal thing, vendetta against this app, I decided to actively scan this host. You get this huge thing, depending on how your settings are set up. See, I have mine set up to 5 threads. I should probably set that to 0, but so you can set all this, and this actually will speed up the testing. Only thing is when you start tweaking these, active scanning engine options, you are throwing errors in your scanning lineup, so you'll get some crazy ass errors. I don't know what the alert says. Whatever. So there's nothing in the alerts because I have it set up right, but you'll actually get conflict where too many requests are being made all at the same time. And that'll throw a bunch of errors. But and I should know this, and I do know this, but what I found is these issues that we can see over here are mostly a load of shit. Mostly a load of shit. I think the scanner is, let me make sure the scanner is done. Like I said, I have this set up to be super fast. Yeah, so the scanner is done. And what it did is it just went through everything and scanned everything, but it fucking sucks. Language, yes. Yeah, so tools are a bunch of tools. Tools don't really do anything, I guess. So at one point in time, and I wish I would have saved the original save state of the same, because the way I have it set up now, I'm returning the same thing. But when I first began testing this, I received about 10 SQL injection issues, warnings, OS command injection issues, warnings, and I want to say like 20 to 30 Python injection warnings, so we can actually inject Python into this app. So if you can imagine my frustration, my employer uses this, got a little whim to see how vulnerable it is because I had never tested it before, find probably 50 to 70 like extreme vulnerabilities, usually relying on the tool, my fault, and having to go through every single one of those vulnerabilities actually really angered me. And what I found is this tool sucks. Burp Suite just sucks. The issues that it sends are highly unreliable. And it's not really that complex of a program. Honestly, I make extensions for it every now and then. So coding things and making sure errors don't come up and really filtering out false positives isn't all that challenging. So like I said, all these new people are coming in and they're using all these cool and fancy tools, and that's cool. That's fine. Um, but what I really want to enforce is that you can't rely on tools. You have to know how to manually test things, because these tools will just lie and lie and lie to you. And this is kind of a little vendetta against all the tools that are out there, even the expensive tools, because Burp Suite, by any means, licenses are not that expensive. I think like $200 or $300, but yeah. So like the cross-site request forgery, cool. Yeah, it says the severity is medium, confidence is tentative. Awesome, great, cool. Like I said, the way that I have it now is it will streamline false positives. There won't be as many false positives the way I have it set up now. I actually would have saved that original to show you guys. I mean, literally, there's SQL injection. Here I am getting excited that I can SQL inject bad boy and dump databases and all kinds of stuff, and then I can just do it on my own employer's, project management, time management thing that we're using too, because it hadn't been secured. Our project managed, everything was unsecured. The vulnerability did end up finding manually testing hours. Actually, it took me a couple of days to manually test everything, literally everything I can find. All of this, every single thing manually had to be tested for security purposes. Then we had to overview code and tweak the code, so the code wasn't even secure. It wasn't set up at all to be secure. But because people are relying heavily on tools nowadays, I wanted to have this little discussion, because they're not an end-all, and to be able to make it in this industry, you need to really, really know your stuff. You need to know how to manually test things. Cool. When you found cross-site scripting with Burp Suite or another scanner, awesome, great. Did you manually test that? People forget that, and I think it's important that we do focus more on manually testing things. Because if we don't, we're just going to run into a lot of false positives and false negatives. So you get into false negative side of things, and say Burp Suite doesn't find anything at all, but you go in and manually test and you find SQL injections up the ass or crazy stuff like that. Unencrypted or heartbleed vulnerability. That's what I meant to go with. Or heartbleed vulnerability is that didn't pop up in any one of your scanners, but someone just got a wild hair and decided to manually test it. So the cross-site scripting that I did isn't even, it's not in here. It's not in here at all, as a matter of fact. So I actually sent this in to Collaborative. But, hey look, I'm tracking. You guys get to see my cool name. Just kidding. So, like I said, left me uneasy, vulnerability. The POC is Collaborative is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. End of story. That's it. That's the only thing it's vulnerable to. So really the impact of this vulnerability, as we can see, is you can from there inject JavaScript, VS script, or VB script, ActiveX, HTML, or Flash into a vulnerable application. So we can start fooling users. This is my cool little chain that I copied. Boom. So this is how I did it. Manually, because we had to obfuscate and cover up the cross-site vulnerability. Or not vulnerability, but the actual exploit. So it's in the /manager user.php file. So I had to encode the URL. In the GET input, this was a GET request. I'll say again, this was a GET request. GET. So on this is the vulnerability or exploit here. This is actually what it looked like when I pumped it in manually, and I set this report up to be just a little schming, but so you can see it's encoded with the percent signs and all that other jazz. So there's no pop-up. Like we think of cross-site scripting, you do the little pop-up alert, like alert, and then you hit OK. So you script a button, essentially, or a pop-up, whatever. This didn't do that. This actually injected this code on mouse over equal prompt, random number string, bad equals. It actually inserted that into the code on the page. So the proof, so here's the proof. And I actually sent this report in just like it is. But when I ran the code and put it in, you can right click and you can look at the source code of the web page, and once you inject it, you'll find it here. So it was like line 79 through 87 where the exploit occurred. I didn't really do anything too crazy. I injected the mouse over prompt and got that's exploitable code without a reliance on tools, because this was not, or this cross-site scripting vulnerability, none of the scanners that I have ever used, or none of the scanners I used on it found it, which makes a tool just a tool, and it's not something that we should not rely on tools whatsoever. And I keep repeating the same thing, but I just want everybody to understand that. Sometimes tools are not the best way to go. They are cool. They're awesome. Some tools do a really good job, like Acunetics or whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce it correctly. See if I can. Hopefully a source pops up here, but so I had to dig and spend like 2 or 3 days digging through every single thing, and so from there, with the cross-site scripting, you can just do a bunch of crazy stuff, right? So I logged out, ended up logging out because I was, just frustrated logging in, honestly, with everything. Found another cross-site vulnerability, which I didn't make a POC for, but this cross-site vulnerability allowed me to make, or to insert my own projects and users. So I scripted the little scripty script, that it injected code that told the collaborative web app to make a huge list, and if they were here, you'd see them. But since I can't pop up that list and log into everything, I had to create like 20 or 30 all at once. So it created a bunch of random user accounts with admin privileges using a cross-site vulnerability, using another one that I found. The same with that vulnerability, once again, manually inserting the code, able to create projects without ever being logged into this thing at all. So, free conference call. So I would just log out and just inject things and inject strings and all kinds of stuff. So the best report that I got out of it was out of dude. Oh, is this the original? This might be the original. Yeah, we don't want to look at that. Trying to find the report for you guys, like the original report. I need to get my desktop. I'm sure some of you would agree. Oh, let's use Internet Explorer. Random memes. Nope. That's not it. So I can't find the original report. Go figure. Anyway, if I had the original report, I would totally show it to you guys. But with this tool, lame, manual test. So Acunetics vulnerability scanner. So this bad boy. Great, we think it's awesome, right? And it kind of is, sort of. By the way, one of my complaints to PortSwigger, which is creators of Burp or maintainers of Burp Suite, is that Burp Suite is a ginormous memory hog, and they still have not fixed it. Matter of fact, I could close this and open it up, and it would ask me to update, and I know that memory issues are not going to be fixed. Highly annoying. Highly annoying waste of resources, honestly. So when we scan with Acunetics, their WVS, Web Vulnerability Scanner, get the same, pretty much the same exact thing. Yeah, this will probably take forever, but it's worth a shot, right, guys? Right. And this is far more accurate than Burp Suite, but really, the results are really comparable. Same false positives, all the same red flags. I don't even know. This might pop up the command injection, which is not possible at all. So, beating a horse about manual testing. Oh, by the way, Acunetics is awesome. Almost 100% positive this version that I have, because I haven't updated this in a while. Long time. This actual version is actually on EC in the forums. If anybody's on the forums and they want it, we can just use the crack there and do it. I tried the crack on one of my home computers and it works. So good news. So yeah, this does the same thing. Sends a bazillion requests. And you'll get a gazillion results, and a lot of them are false positives. And I'm trying to figure out what else to add, because all I'll be doing is repeating myself. But like I said, like if you're trying to get into cybersecurity or information assurance or hacking, please, God forbid, do not rely on just tools. Do not, and it's not about being a script kiddie. It's not about being elite. It's not about being an Uber hacker. Okay? Because there's people out there that can hack circles around other people out there who can hack circles around other people out there with tools. And it just kind of, it's hard to choke down when Yeah, like I have a new guy, I have an intern, and he's great. He's super smart. Um, he's got like a bachelor's degree in digital forensics or computer forensics or whatever. So he's smart. He knows what he's doing. Cool, but he has such a heavy reliance on tools. And like I started to notice, like all he wants to do is use tools, and all I wanted to do is use tools too. And everybody's using tools, So, and don't get me wrong, tools are important. They have their place. But this kid could barely manual test damn vulnerable web app, the vulnerable web application that's used for practice and testing and stuff like that. Like, he could barely manually test that, and that's easy. I mean, you can get a SQL injection, the 1 = 1, 1 = 2, and figure things out from there. Like, it's not hard, and things like that. So we're trying to offer that as a practice environment. So I ended up inviting him over to my house after I made him go to work for no reason. Made him turn around and come to my house. I teach him how to manually test, or at least get him started on the basics. Like, hey, this is a SQL injection. Hey, this is cross-site script. These are some common ways that I use to see if a web application is vulnerable to these things without relying on a tool, without ever firing a tool straight from the web page or straight from the app. And this is true for mobile application testing also. Heck, even server testing, network testing. You kind of need tools, like Wireshark. I can't grab network information out of thin air. I can't see it. I can't touch it. Can't grab it. Can't turn it into something physical that I can click on. I can't click on network traffic without tools like Wireshark or or anything else like that. So yeah, it was just a pain to see, such a like a bright-minded person relying heavily on tools. It's prompted this discussion, actually not much of a discussion, but more of a, hey, stupid, stop using tools as much, stop relying on tools solely, because out there it's starting to get more competitive. In the career field, it's starting to get more competitive. And if you have an edge on someone that uses nothing but tools and you can do both, then you have a job somewhere. And then guess what? As you move up the tier and you start to learn more manual testing and you start learning more tools, you always have that manual aspect to yourself when your tool fails, because your tool will fail eventually. It will give you a false positive. It will give you a false negative. It doesn't matter how much you pay for a user license. It doesn't matter how much time or investment the company has put into the tool. They're still relying on you to be able to manually test things. Manually. Get your hands dirty. It's okay. You know what I mean? Even when you're hacking, like, get your hands dirty. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because honestly, it's more time consuming to do everything manually. But figure out your SOP, your standard operating procedure on how you want to test or hack things, and stick to it. Kind of make the tools of reference of things, and then manually test from there, versus actively scanning things or using Acunetics. Man, it's so difficult for me to pronounce, but so like once this gets done scanning, I could just make a report, because Acunetics makes awesome reports. I don't know if anybody's actually used this before, but it creates like really awesome reports. I could just scan a whole entire web app and make a report, change some things around to add company logos and stuff like that, and boom, I have 6,200 page report that I can turn into an executive or developer team or whoever, and then that'll be it. That's it with my testing. That's it. But what really did I accomplish? Like, hey, you have these vulnerabilities, and you're essentially lying, because you're like, yeah, these are vulnerabilities there. Are they? Because all you did was use a tool, and I noticed that's never been questioned. Kind of like once you get the report, nobody questions like, hey, are these actually here, or was this just from strictly a vulnerability scanner? not necessarily exploiting maliciously, not like dumping databases or anything, but just, the simple, like 1 equals 1, 1 equals 2, SQL errors and, the cross-site scripting pop-up alert, I should say. Simple things like that, just check to see, what is there, server timing, blind SQL injections with server timing. Things like that are not necessarily malicious, but they offer a buffer of reassurance to the client, whoever you're hacking, that the vulnerability is actually there. So when you put it in your report, you can be like, these, unless you're going to lie, you manually test everything, which it's not always possible in every case. A lot of clients want things done in 20 hours or less. Then you do have to rely on tools, but you should still, if a tool flags something of high importance, red flags, versus yellow, blue, green, or black, you should definitely be manually testing those at the very least, because you don't want to put in your report that you manually tested everything when you just ran a vulnerability scanner and these are the vulnerabilities that you found. It's not going to make for it's not going to make for a fun time when, a client that you just worked on gets hacked. So it's not going to be fun when a client gets hacked and that vulnerability was there, but you wanted to rely on a scanner to do your job. Because really, like honestly, some information chief officer, whatever the heck they are, chief information officer, chief information assurance officer, they can just sit here and do all the testing that comes through. All that's going to be used is a scanner, you know what I mean? Especially ones like this that do the reports for you. So most of this, because it's going to take a bit to scan, most of this is flub. Doesn't exist. Is wrong. False positives. This is actually set up to mitigate false positives, and it's fairly accurate. Don't get me wrong, but just I guess in this case, this scenario, it's just not. It's not. And even combining the two, I mean, you have a good base, but honestly, manual testing, it's imperative. It's imperative to the future of penetration testing. It's imperative that we don't send these kids out, or you're not hacking somebody and you're doing everything via a tool, internet shellcode, exploits, and stuff like that. Some things have to be left to tools or left to things that make tools or make shellcode automatically. This thing just sends a billion requests. So the requests it sends are pretty much the same as Burp Suite, although a little more refined, and there's a lot more requests it sends, but it'll send shell shock to the server, to the web app. It'll send cross-site scripting stuff, SQL injection, OS command, Python command injection, just anything you can think of to check for vulnerabilities. It's the same thing. So literally, you give the machine a list, and the machine takes a list and inserts everything and tells you if it's vulnerable or not. But just because it finds something doesn't mean it's vulnerable, like I said. And I think I've about drained everybody's ears with manual testing today. All right, we got to do a little pause. Boom. So before I was rudely interrupted by my phone call, BlindFuzzy is a busy guy. Ooh, thanks, Zoe. So, rudely interrupted. Phone call. Blah, blah. But getting into manual testing, most of you should know, most of you do know, that it's really not that hard. Nope. So you just find something vulnerable in the URL. Like this. But this isn't vulnerable. So you just type your script here. Scripty. No. It's script here. And obviously it doesn't look like that. Obviously you can encode things. But really manual testing, that's where I would start. And then I would start looking at the source code and start running through that. Freaking burp sweet. So yeah, there is a directory listing. Cool. You can manually find that. Right? Right, guys? Yeah. Manually find. You can manually find cross-site script request form or cross-site request forgeries. Sorry. So this is false. It is protected, actually. This is true. This is actually really dependent on your server. So if you're using HTTPS, you don't have to worry about encrypting clear text credentials because they're going to be encrypted by your HTTPS connection. So you don't really need to worry about that. I think so. Server-side request forgery. False positive. Actually, yeah. False positive. Does not exist. But it's there. And that's the problem with tools, is they're going to throw everything there. So this is taking forever. See, over 100,000 requests. It's insane. This isn't really a tool demo. This is just because I felt like bitching about tools. Or minus the swearing. I felt like complaining about tools and people's usage of tools and the heavy reliance nowadays, especially in the industry that I work in. Oh, incident response for governments, working for 3-letter alphabet agencies and looking at everybody using the latest and greatest, and come to find out it's really not all that great. And actually on government systems, it's actually really difficult to use these tools because you're not always allowed to. So you do need to know the manual test, especially if you get in the government sector part of things. Private sector, it's a little bit easier depending on the client. You know, the client says, no, don't use this, don't use that. What does this do? You have to respond back and be like, okay, we'll do everything manually. Stop relying on tools, everybody, including myself. Tools will get you nowhere if you're trying to break into this industry as an associate penetration tester or any junior penetration tester. I'll just go ahead and snatch tools away from, or at least if they work under me, I will snatch tools away from them. You know, we have the intern, and, you know, like I said, smart guy, cool guy, awesome guy, play tricks on him. But just heavy reliance on tools. I told him not to use any tools anymore, so he'll be doing everything manually. You know, because he was bringing things that weren't even there. to the table, and that makes it very frustrating and difficult and huge time waster. Tools streamline the process. Don't get me wrong. It's just the heavy reliance of tools that I have problem with these days. So really concluding, use less of the tool and more of your fingers. Get on. There's a keyboard on your computer, your laptop, for a reason. It's for you to type exploits. It's for you to, insert commands and strings and functions. Using the keyboard doesn't have the same touch like using a tool would. So that about concludes my rant and rave about tools and their usage. If anybody has any questions, gripes, complaints, anything you would like me to discuss next week or any month or any day, just post an IRC. Always there. Someone's always there. I see it. I log the chat, or in that channel I log. So if you guys ever have a question or what have you, just post it in the IRC. All right. So this ends BlindFuzzy's complaint on heavy reliance of tools, because tools are tools, and I want to exit.